we leave you with our last song, which was given to us to be given to you by Rhone who has long since left us. And she was my dear friend. But I'm a Pisces and I'm on the cusp of Aquarius, and so I gotta say, take me to the water. Take me to the water. Take me to the water to be baptized. Because you see, I know that none but the righteous, none but the righteous, none but the shall see God. So take me to the water, it cools me, child. Take me to the water. Take me to if it's turbulent, and I don't mind if it's calm, and I don't mind if it's green, I don't mind if it's blue, but as long as it's water, then I feel at home, 'cause it soothes me and moves me. It soothes me and moves me. Got to have it. Cools me right down. Ah, Lord.
Family, what's good with you? It's Alexus Rhone, aka Alexus Grace, founder of Truth Meets Story LLC, expanding empathy one story at a time, and your host for Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine at Vespers. Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine at Vespers is a faith and adult storytelling series. By faith, I mean we explore the presence or perceived absence of God in our lived reality, and we do this exploration via the tool adult storytelling. By adult storytelling, I mean stories that are told to adults, by adults, for a people with a developed adult context. And for that reason, we do not apologize for how we show up in this space. We assume that everyone who is here can handle what it means to be here. 7-year-olds have a story time, and now so do adults. You're welcome. Okay, listen, I am still on the road. Getting it in. Last week I was in Indianapolis, and I had alluded to the fact that I had signed an NDA and I couldn't really talk openly about what was going on. But what had happened was I received a contract to coach 3 storytellers who were featured in Eli Lilly's Level Up conference. It's a conference for their employees, and I coached the storytellers that were featured on the main stage. And there was a lot of excitement and energy. This is a very popular conference, and people look forward to it every year. And so, but they always, every year, quote, level up. They're always doing more and more and doing all of the things. And so the storytelling component was a new feature, and I was blessed to receive that contract. And so it was an amazing experience all the way through. But we were constantly being prepped about this global icon that's going to show up. So my storytellers, they do an amazing job. We do a breakout session, and then we return to the main session where the global icon that hit that stage, Oprah Winfrey. I was like, what? Is this my life? Is this really happening? Yes, it is my life, and yes, it was really happening. And it was really exciting to be in that space with all of this greatness. But I'll tell you something that I've actually, and I wrote this back in, I want to say 2000, somewhere between 2001 and 2000, somewhere between the year 2000 and the year 2002. I want to say like 2001, 2002. You see, I understand that Oprah is like an icon. She's been iconic for me like since the 80s. But what was fascinating for me as I began to realize who I am and what God has called me to, I recognize that in the same way that Oprah did not know that she was Oprah, she did not know all that her life was going to be. I wondered how many other beautiful black and brown girls did not know their name, do not know their name, and they are en route to living the life that is going to make Oprah look like a welfare case. I believe that person or those people are out there. I believe that is possible. And in the same way, they did not believe that Oprah was possible, and we forever thought Madam C.J. Walker was the, quote, only black female millionaire. Oprah comes along, it's like, let me show you a trick. So as excited as I was to be in that amazing space with the one and only Oprah Winfrey, and then also later that afternoon, we got America Ferrera, and she was also chef's kiss as well. It was just a beautiful experience. But what I continued to, and what I still drill down on, is that there is still a work. There are still amazing people. There are still skills and opportunities for our girls to show up and to do the absolute most. And what I'm not going to do is act like it only gets to be a one generation shot and then we got to wait. I'm like, no. Pumpkin is out there. And I just so happen to believe that the work that I'm called to do is making her know her name, who she is, so that she can do whatever is that work that's going to level up her life and bring on global icon status. I just happen to believe that that's a thing. And so as I sat there and as I listened to Oprah, I also remembered that my prayer was that I would write, speak, tell stories in a way that the young person that does not yet know that they have future iconic status will hear me say, Pumpkin, you got future iconic status, and that I would deposit something in them that would be grand and glorious. So anyway, so I was back in Indianapolis last weekend. I meant to tell you that I filmed Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine while I was in Indy on the campus of St. Luke's United Methodist Church. That was a very important space, a very sacred space for me when I lived very briefly in Indianapolis with my previous love project. Yes, I was in Indy trying to see, am I going to find love for a lifetime or hurt for a little more, and then I'll be sure of the decision I'm going to make. I was rooting for love for a lifetime, and not what happened. I heard a lot more, but I was sure about my decision. But it was a blessing to be able to return to Indianapolis and to go back to those old spaces that were sacred and where God nurtured me, where I felt loved and held and seen by the sovereign God and all of the folks that were there to keep me encouraged as I was going through the space. So that was last week. It was amazing. I am now in Houston, Texas. I am in 3rd Ward, Houston, Texas. I am filming this in front of Crumville, Texas Bakery, owned by the fabulous Ella, who is just all of the amazing things. I'm going to put the address on there for those of you who are in Houston to come and support Crumville, Texas Bakery and her infamous stuffed cups. I purchased a couple, and she has this thing where she's got to decorate the bags. She always does the most in the absolute best way. I love Ella. I love this space. I love the ways that the ways that 3rd Ward is messaging through murals, and I'm in front of one of the Project Row House murals back there, and I believe that you'll be able to see the QR code. I'm going to put that up there so you'll be able to do this. Anyway, I'm in Houston, and I am grateful for this moment, for this day, and for all of the things that are happening in my life, in the world. I am convinced more and more that everything will be all right eventually. So, thank y'all so much for all of the ways that you were sending me love for last week's broadcast, and thank you for even taking this journey with me. All I want to do is to show up in the space and to practice perfect self-expression in every way. And I realize that I get to be the one to curate what those spaces look like. I get to decide, okay, this is where I go when they make room for me to be who I am. If they don't make room, then I'm like, okay, I don't need to be there. And that's okay too, when, that is a legitimate option. I realize that there's sometimes that we show up in spaces like, look, I just got to be here, even if just for a minute. And that's okay too. But I am grateful that right now, today, I am making some very intentional choices. And all of those choices are what? Centering what feels good to me. I have always been a deep thinker, a lover of scriptures, and also aware that the scriptures are amazing stories about the universal experience of humanity, particularized within the Jewish context, within a particular context, within a particular milieu, within a particular people group and their experiences. But I believe that it is the universal experience of humanity, and I approach it as such. And so when I am in Bible studies and Sunday school lessons, like I'm all the time mindful of that particularity, the universality, but also the particularity. And also I want to explore, what does it mean for this story to be universal? So one time I was in a co-ed Sunday school class, and was with a fairly conservative, predominantly black church. And I love this ministry, and I love, anytime they allow us to talk back to the text, if you will, right? We're not expected to open our brains and let folks pour into it, but we get to actually have our say. So in Sunday school classes, that's typically what it is. You get to have your say. Well, we were studying a lesson on it was Abraham and Sarah. And in this story, I raised my hand, and I think it was when Abraham had told Sarah, hey, tell this Egyptian leader that that you're my sister. And so she goes along with the plan. And then Sarah has to go and spend the night with this other man. And so to that story, I raised my hand and I said, Abraham was kind of trifling. I didn't know what else to call a setup where a man tells his wife, hey, go in with that other dude and tell him that, that you're my sister. So, so he won't kill me and you have to go and live permanently with him. So I said, hey, Abraham was kind of trifling. And when I tell you, the men were in an uproar. It's like, how dare you talk like that about Father Abraham? I'm like, I am talking about what he did. Does that not strike anybody else as trifling? So the men were in an uproar, but I will never forget how the women were silent. No one came along with me and said, you know what? Yeah, that was a trifling deal. And it was as if we were not permitted to have perfect self-expression about what we are clearly seeing in the universal text, in the scriptures, the universal story of humanity. Somehow we have got to venerate every jacked up decision, and we can't have, we can't have our say. That was so problematic for me, but it was a day that I will never forget. And it is to that story that I would like to attach the 4 things that we do at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine. First thing is we offer a public lament. And here's what I lament. I lament that the women were silent. There was not one woman in that class that would be able to convince me that they could see some sort of salvific, value to their husband, their mate, doing what Father Abraham had done. No one thought to just open their brains, open their eyes, consider how all of the ways that she could have been violated. Now, I bless God for the scripture saying that the Spirit of the Lord, very much chin-checked the Egyptian leaders, okay, you're going to see me in the morning, you and all your people. And so there was a spiritual protection that Sarah enjoyed. But just the idea of the husband saying, here, go do this, go be with him for the night so I can be spared. I could not understand why women were silent in that space. I lament that. But here's my prophetic hope. Second thing that we offer, Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine, is a prophetic hope. Here's my prophetic hope. It comes from poet and prophet Audre Lorde. She says, pay attention to the voices you've been taught to distrust. Do you know what those primary voices that we've been taught to distrust are? Our own. We've been taught to allow someone else to serve as the expert, to serve as the voice that's going to give us the most credible information, and to never think about that check in your spirit, ooh, that don't sound right. Or, ooh, that don't, whatever. So that's us honoring our intuition. But if someone says something and the resonant voices are telling you, no, Father Abraham must always be venerated. I was like, do you not catch that bullshit he did? That was very problematic. Pay attention to the voices you've been taught to distrust. A lot of times they are your own, and it is in your own voice, I think, that you will find #solutions for yourself and for all of us. Pay attention to the voices that you've been taught to distrust. The third thing we offer at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine is energizing memory. And my energizing memory is with a Disciples of Christ church in Los Angeles called Tribe of LA. And it was a community, a faith community, where I was first introduced to the idea of preachers, whoever it was that was preaching, would have to stop their sermon and take questions from the audience. All these years in church, I have never before had a pastor say, okay, now I need to hear from the audience. Like at the Sunday text, right? There all the time, it's like very high church. It's like, open your ears and your Bible and your journal and take notes and on and on. What I loved about Tribe of LA was how we were able to, the preacher was directed to sit quiet, to offer us space to ask questions of the text. It was not open your brain and your journal. It was open your mouth. What did you hear? What questions do you have? What do you have to say that counters what I just said? Push back. Talk back to the text. Talk back to the preacher. I absolutely love that. It's an energizing memory. The fourth and final thing that we offer at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine is a note on giving. Here's what I want to offer on giving. Give room for the Spirit to move you into places where you are able to enjoy perfect self-expression. Places that are different from what the tradition that you grew up with. Spaces that allow you to stretch and to grow and to do things that might even seem a little sacrilegious, but it just might be in those spaces that you get to encounter the mystery and the vastness of a sovereign God who was like, listen, you ain't gonna never be able to fully know me. But we put ourselves in these spaces where it's like, okay, this is who God is and this is how God moves. Give yourself permission to allow Spirit to move you into new places and spaces and to stretch you and to grow you in ways so that at the end of the day, you may enjoy perfect self-expression. To God be the glory, to the earth be peace, and to you be the courage to do the thing that feels real and right for you at all times. May you remember all of those things where someone tried to treat you as if you were an anomaly, when all you really were, unbeknownst to yourself at that time, was just perfectly who you are. You see what you see, and you say it, and may you be blessed by that. Ashe, Selah, Amen, and so be it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.